So I'm going to go ahead and minimize local packs, open up Google Chrome, and in Google Chrome, I'm going to go to vetconnectplus.com.
But if we take it here, we can do it on any other computer, correct?
That's exactly what I was about to say next.
Okay.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Yes, so everything I'm doing right now, you can do from any device with internet. So we do not need to be in here for anything else that we're doing. So from vetconnectplus.com, at the very top of the screen up here where it says imaging, if we click on that, that's going to take you to the WebPACS homepage. I did bookmark it here on this computer, and it's very easy to bookmark on any workstation. I would probably recommend bookmarking it on any computers that you use it on regularly. Home screen is laid out very similar, but slightly different than local packs. We found when we did it identical to local packs, it created all kinds of havoc because people couldn't tell the difference and they didn't know which one they were looking at. So they kept calling IDEX because they were like, I don't know which one I'm looking at. And it was very confusing because we thought they would really appreciate the consistency. So we had to introduce some subtle changes. So right up here it says WebPACS, IDEX WebPACS, and our search bar is now on the left instead of the right. Our filters for the patient cards are right here. So we can do, by default, the last 2 days. So you're always looking at the most recent. But we can look at this week, last week, or specific date if we want to search. Reset is like refresh. And then to look at images, we just click on the patient card and the images come up in the viewer. So from this screen, this is where you really get to play. So you can have as much fun as you want, and you've always got this button right here to restore the image to its original state. That's that right there. Okay, so I'm going to real quick just kind of go through these, but if you have questions, please stop me. So the first one here is to hide your DICOM overlays, so your patient client name, labels and whatnot. So if you're showing the image to somebody else, another client that you don't want to see that, you can hide that information. And then the button on the bottom of that is to hide any annotations. So if you've marked up the image and you want to hide that work before you show it to the client, you just click on that button to hide it. Next we have the zoom tool. So the top button is to zoom in and out. If I click on that and then left click and drag, that'll zoom in and out. Once I'm in, I can right click to pan across the image. Again, I'm just right click and drag to move the image around. Back up here, the option on the bottom will reset the image. And then the option in the middle is an additional tool that you can drag around for additional magnification. Okay? Again, reset is on the bottom. Brightness and contrast is very similar. So up top we have brightness and contrast. Left click and drag. Up and down we'll do my blacks and white. Left to right we'll do my brightness. If I go in a circle, we'll do both. And then again on the bottom we'll reset. In the middle we'll invert. So let's change the blacks to white, whites to black. Flip and rotate. It's pretty self-explanatory. Crop. So again, during capture, I kind of reiterate, if it's adequate, move on. The reason I say adequate is because if you need to tighten it up and make it perfect, you can always do that from here. So the crop button is right there. You just come in here and click and drag. Very simple.
How does that work with us sending to the radiologist, which is usually IDEX?
Yep.
So it confuses the algorithm. It gets upset if we've got like this image, for example. Like it would get upset that there's all that chest in an abdominal image. If I waited to crop it until it was in WebPACS, then does that automatically go over to, I don't know how the WebPACS works with the telemedicine. Like will my original images show up in telemedicine and then?
It's a good question. So will a cropped image, is the cropped image the one that's being transferred to telemedicine? Is that the question? It's a good question. I would assume you're probably right. The base image is the one that's being sent to. Just basic ruler. Click on this annotation, left click and drag. Oops, no, that's my zoom. Sorry. Reset. And measure. Okay. Anytime you do an annotation on the screen, you're going to get this little menu. This is to change the color. And then this is to delete the annotation. And then this is just instructions on how to use the annotation. So anytime you use any of these annotation tools, that question mark icon is going to give you instructions on how it works.
And how do you want to, if you want to save it?
If you want to save it, you just exit out and go back to the home screen. So it'll always do like an auto save as.
If you did something like that, I guess you just hit the trash can. Is that what that is, the trash can?
Right there, yeah, to delete. So when you're done, if you want, you could do, restore, and that'll undo everything. But if you've done stuff, you've adjusted contrast and whatnot, then maybe you don't want to undo everything. So you just want to delete the one annotation, in which case you would just do that. You can also adjust the units of measurement. So right now it's in millimeters. If I just come over here to viewer settings, over here are my units, so I can change it to inches. Okay. And then in here, anybody in here, do you guys use Max at all? Okay, that's good. It's a bit complicated sometimes. But if for any reason you need to, mouse shortcuts, keyboard shortcuts, toolbar, that kind of stuff, you can customize all of that from here. So that's again in the viewer settings. Next we have the advanced measurement tools, and actually I want to see if I can find. Let's try this one. So this is looks like a canine thorax lateral. Which, if you have a canine thorax lateral, you can do an automated vertebral heart score. So in the advanced measuring tools, you just click on VHS, and it's going to automatically plot everything for you. So if it's in blue, it was done by the computer. If I adjust it at all, it's automatically going to turn it to yellow, just like the other annotation. And anytime you see it's in another color, it was done by a human being. Anytime it's in blue, it was done by a computer. So you can always distinguish them. The score is right there, so 9.17 would be the score for this patient. And then over here we have our trending graph. So it's always going to display the 5 most recent vertebral heart scores, so you can monitor heart size over time. And it's also going to plot them in color. So right now that's green, letting you know that it's within range, it's healthy. It's doing the ranges by breed reference ranges. And if it's out of range, it'll be red, just to kind of indicate. If you send blood work, the pro-BNP results will also be there for trending. So the whole idea there is you can monitor heart disease and prevent things in a really good way. And again, with this tool, just like the other annotations, the question mark icon there is going to give you step-by-step instructions on how to use that tool. If for any reason it's not able to plot the vertebral heart score, so maybe there's not enough vertebrae in the shot, or the clarity isn't quite there for whatever reason, you can manually plot it. It just takes a little bit longer. But yeah, if the image is good, just like this one, it's automatically going to do everything for you. Let's go back into here. Okay. Annotations, so these are just basic annotations. Circle something, draw. Again, we can make these bigger so you can edit the annotation. You can change the color or you can delete it. Label anatomy. I find this very helpful, especially with these abdominal images. If you're going to be reviewing this with a client, if you can label like the area of interest, sometimes it's really helpful for them so they know what they're looking at. Free type text, so anywhere on the image you just click and then type in the little box down here. So you can type whatever you want. Big A makes it bigger, little a makes it smaller, change the color, and if you want you can move it around so you can put it wherever you want. I'm going to skip over this for right now. I'm going to do undo, so I'm going to undo all of this nonsense that I've done. That's going to take us back to the image that we uploaded. Now to compare multiple images, that's going to be this button right here, so layout. And the way layout works is you're going to highlight the pattern that you want to view. So you get to customize your monitor, essentially. So what I mean by that is if I want to see my two images side by side, I can do this. Or if I want to see them stacked, I can do this. Or if I want to see three at the same time, I can do this.
Yeah, I think I visit.
So you kind of choose how you want it laid out, and it's going to set it up for you that way. Once you've got it set up, then you just check on whichever box you want to change, and you can change from the thumbnail down here. All of the thumbnails will be visible down here. As they begin to accumulate, it'll be listed as just date and time. It'll have all of the images from that study. And to see the extra thumbnails, you just click on the plus sign to expand. And as this begins to build up, you've also got a right and a left arrow there to scroll. And if you want to see more, you can just click on this in the corner, and that'll display 3 full rows of thumbnails. Okay.
So that'll be all the studies on a patient, not just.
Yep.
Yes, that's fine.
So every time you take images for this patient, it'll create a new study down here, and they'll just continue to compile. To hide the thumbnails down here, so if you want to look at just the image in the viewer, and you don't want to see all this, so that's the hiding on or hiding off. Okay. And so then moving over here to the sidebar, the other features that I want to discuss are going to be the reference image library, which is this button right here. We click on that, that's going to bring up a bank of normals. So you can click there and compare. You also have the ability to save abnormals. So if you've taken an image and you feel like it's a really unique image that would be worth saving, you just click on the image and then click on this little star icon and then click add abnormal. Fill out these fields and hit save, and then it'll always be there in that reference bank. My recommendation is if you ever have a colleague pull out their cell phone to take a photo of the monitor, you should probably be saving it in the reference bank. It's going to be way more useful than trying to find a JPEG on your phone.
How can you view just those?
Say again?
Can you view just the abnormal ones?
Yeah.
Or can you only do it in comparison?
Well, you go into the reference bank right here. And once you open that, so right now it's looking at normals. So if I just click here on abnormal, then that's going to bring up the bank of abnormals. And if you need to, you can also search for a specific image. So any of those keywords or fields that you entered when you saved it, those are all items that you can search for. Did that answer your question? Okay, good. Okay, below that we have the share button, and then below that we have reassign. So earlier we were talking about if images are taken under the wrong patient, so reassign is right there, and you can send it over to the correct patient. So just above that is share, and this is technically the last area that we'll cover. So to send out the images from Webpacks, and I think have you guys ever done it from here? No? Interesting. Okay. Yeah, okay. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. Whenever you click on the share button, by default it's going to bring up email, because that's what you're probably going to do the majority of the time. You just type in the email address you want to send it to, whether it's a client or colleague or anyone. There's already a default subject and message that's there that includes the patient client name, but if you need to, you can certainly edit that or add to it or whatnot. Down here you just select the images you want to send. You'll see the thumbnails populate in the bottom of the email. And when you're ready, you hit send. Now by default that's going to send the images as a link. So what that means is when they get the email, when they receive it, there's going to be a link in the body of the email. They just click on that. It's going to open up their web browser on their computer, and they're basically going to see a copy of this screen right here. So they're looking at the image in Webpacks. They have the ability to manipulate the image with some of the tools up top. They also have the ability to download the image, so this button right here. They have the ability to download the image if they want to save it onto their computer permanently. The link itself is good for 30 days. After that, it will expire. We do that because we don't want to store medical records in email. It's not safe. But again, if they want to save it, they always have that download button so they can save it permanently. Any questions about email? Okay, cool. DICOM and telemedicine are basically like two sides of the same coin. DICOM is every third-party recipient, and telemedicine is IDEX. So it's basically that simple. And this is basically if it's a radiologist that wants to receive the image via DICOM so they can import it into their software and look at it the way they prefer, if you will. So if you're sending it to telemedicine, you would just click on telemedicine and then hit select the images you want to submit and then hit send. It's automatically going to launch the VetMedStat website, and it's also going to begin the submission page for you and pre-populate the client patient name and all of that stuff. So all you should have to enter is like the signal mint and the history and how soon you need the results back. Does that make sense? Does it line up? Mm-hmm. It's been a while since I've actually seen it, so it's always good to check in. But yeah, and then from there you've got, you've seen this screen here where you can see it from the dashboard. The other side of that is in here. So this icon up here where you got a little paper clip, as soon as you submit to telemedicine, that's going to light up kind of orange or yellow, depending on your taste. And that basically means it's pending.
What's going to light up?
This paper clip.
The paper clip. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like that dress debate a couple years ago where they're like, is it black and silver or whatever? Yeah, I think it's kind of orange. Some people say it's yellow. They're really close. I don't know. But that means it's pending. And then when it's green, which is definitely a different color, that means it's done and you can view the PDF at any point. So you always have that link right there so you don't have to go hunting for the report. If you're sending it DICOM, you would need to have their information saved in Webpacks. And then the other side of that is, keep in mind, just like we have our telemed website that opens up when you submit, they probably have a website as well that you have to go to submit the images. So yes, this will send it to their computer, but they probably also have some sort of workflow for the website. But yeah. Interactive collaboration. This is to go over images with anybody that has internet but can't be here physically. So what I mean by that is, let me just give you a hypothetical. What is happening right now?
Sorry.
It's like a Disney movie. So let's say you have an emergency come in, the client can't stay, so they drop the patient off. Does that ever happen?
Mm-hmm.
You guys do drop-offs?
Yeah.
Okay, I would imagine. So they go to work, right? And then you guys do your diagnostics. So let's say included in that is radiographs. In the radiographs, you see something abnormal. You have an idea of what you want to do. So you're going to call the client and you're going to go over the images with them. They can't be here physically because they're at work and they can't get out of work and there's just nothing they can do. But man, you really need to go over those radiographs with them so that you can do the thing that you need to do, right? Okay. So you send them an email invitation, hit send. It'll open up the collaboration screen on both sides. So when they get the email, they click on the link. And then again, they're looking at the same screen. There's a text box right here that'll open up so you can type messages back and forth. Whatever changes you make to the image, they're going to see in real time. So if you adjust the brightness and contrast, if you zoom in and out, any of that, they're going to see it on their end as well. They're not remoting into your computer, so they don't see your cursor moving around or anything like that. It's just a shared session in a sense. The text box is there because that's really important for the sake of documentation. If the client, for any reason, tells you that, yes, you can go ahead with this procedure, I give you my consent. You probably want that documented somewhere, I would imagine. So having that in that text box saved is really helpful. And then as soon as you end the collaboration, it's going to save all of that permanently so that you can access it from this icon right here. It looks like two people right next to each other. So if you click on that, it's going to bring up a little window with all of the collaborations that you've created. So they'll have date and time. You just click on the one that you want to view. That'll bring up the entire discussion and you can see all the notes that were generated from that.
Does that transfer to their medical record or just stay on the IDEX?
It's just right here with the images.
Okay.
So at any point you can find it in there.
Got it.
Now I'm sure you could do a copy and paste or something
Yeah.
like that. But it's great that it saves the information, so there's no he said, she said, or any of that. I would recommend, if it is something that you guys are interested in, and hopefully it is, try like a test run with each other. So you could be in here and invite someone, and then have someone out there in the treatment room, and they can join the collaboration, and then the two of you can kind of get the kinks out a little bit. It's almost like the first time you drive a car, you know, you're always really awkward about it. You probably don't want to do that when you're talking to a client. So kind of work that out a little bit, and then you can start doing it with your clients. I can tell you it was a godsend during when we were in the thick of the pandemic and everybody was doing curbside. It was extremely helpful, so that a lot of people were looking at radiographs in their cars. Not ideal, but at least they were able to keep things moving. The last one we have here is OFA. Do you guys ever submit to OFA? You don't have to worry about it. It's just there to help for that submission process. Let's go back. Just hit the back arrow to go back home. And again, that will save any changes that you've made to the image automatically. So as far as resources are concerned, if you forget everything I've said this morning, okay, remember this one thing. The phone number to digital support is on the mouse pad. It's on your desktop. It's in the software. It's all over. Okay, when you call that number, this website that I bookmarked right here, they'll give you a session code. You just put that code in there and hit join. They can remote in and look at whatever's going on. So just like this morning when it was acting goofy, I was able to reach out to digital support. They logged in. We were able to determine that the issue had to do with the integration settings. So then we were able to kind of get up and running. So they'll do that exact same thing for you guys anytime you have an issue. If it's a matter of, I can't remember how to do something, can you show me? They can do that as well. The big thing that I try to reiterate with people is just that these guys are the ones that have the most resources. They are the ones that dispatch me. So a lot of the times, if it's a really complicated issue and you reach out to me and you're like, please fix it, I'm probably going to say you need to call support. I don't have the ability to remote in with the access that they do. Most of the time I'm on site talking to people like you. And aside from that, they also can ship out parts. So let's say this morning, the whole issue was with the PC. Maybe the PC was just a complete dud. In that case, we want to make sure you get a new PC as quickly as possible. So they're going to overnight you a new PC from FedEx, so it'll be here first thing in the morning. They have that ability. I don't, unfortunately. I'm not that powerful. I only get to teach people stuff. But they're awesome. They're really helpful. And then the other part that I try to kind of raise awareness on is if you're having an issue, there's a really good chance somebody else out there is having the same issue. There's a lot of people out there with this same system. So the sooner you call us and we have eyes on it, the sooner we're going to come up with a solution for that and disseminate that to everybody. And that's why you see frequent updates from IDEX.
24/7, the support?
It is 24/7. In the middle of the night, so like at 4 in the morning when I was here, there is a pager service, but they are available and they will get back to you.